Hi, I'm Dave Gardy from Maritime TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. in preparation for the 28th Annual HACC Conference. And joining us now via Zoom is Ted Horton, who's partner at Seward & Kissel and co-head of the capital markets practice. Ted, thanks for joining us.
Dave, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
What have you seen in terms of the capital market activity in the shipping sector, and what do you see for 2022?
I think we're generally optimistic about 2022. I think that 2021 was obviously a strong year for most sectors in shipping. As is usually the case, some of the sectors were stronger than others. Obviously, the container and the dry bulk were particularly strong, and I think we're seeing that continue into 2022. The tanker sector had a tough year in 2021, but I think that the fundamentals are generally viewed as being pretty strong coming into 2022, and hopefully this will be a turnaround year for the wet sector. The capital markets side is, again, I think we're hoping that strength in the markets and in the stock prices of some of these companies will translate into an active period for the capital markets. It all comes down to valuation. And for these companies, in order to do, certainly on the equity side, it just needs to be the right valuations. And most of these companies where the stock prices have been in past years, it just hasn't made sense to do this on an opportunistic basis. And so I think in that respect, 2022 has some opportunities to see some activity. One of the ironies, if you will, of the markets are that some of these companies have actually had such strong years on the earnings side that they have very strong balance sheets right now. So there's not really a necessity to go into the capital markets. But again, I think it comes back to the point that at some point the valuations will reach a point where it just makes sense to do that. And we hope to see that in 2022. And then I think the other point on this is we've started to see on these valuations that it's a continued recovery. In prior years, we've seen very short periods where there have been very high rates and there's been a lot of activity and people talking about that, but investors need to see continued growth. And starting in 2021, you did see some of the institutional investors start to take another look at the shipping sector. And if we can continue that growth through 2022, which I do think is the expectation in most of these sectors, then I think that should give investors a long enough period to really start to focus on the sector again. So overall, we're very optimistic going into 22. Hopefully, if we're sitting here a year from now, this pans out to be correct.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the time you've taken, Ted, to give us a perspective. We've been speaking with Ted Horton, who's partner at Seward & Kissel and co-head of the capital markets practice. Thanks for joining us today, Ted.
Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye.
Dave Gardy from Maritime TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. in preparation for the 28th Annual HACC Conference. Thanks for watching.